Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. It is 2 minutes after 19. It's Wednesday, the 24th day of September 2025. Age is back with yet another, a video. This time I will try and wrap up exactly the the case. The case is how it all basically transpired and the events unfolded the way they have, and right now basically I am recording just the day before my previous trial date was on, which would be tomorrow, the 25th of September 2025. And this was the date that I was given in my last court appearance at 161 Elgin Street at the City of Ottawa Court House, right? So basically I had been just released without any bail conditions, without any surety requirements, so to speak, with the Justice of the Peace, and basically the trial set date was set for the 25th of September 2025, which will be tomorrow now. So basically the reason why I'm recording is because now for yet another this case is basically concerning an incident that took place way back last year on the 24th of August 2024, and I have been going through the court motion only to be spinning wheels at the lower courts in Ottawa, because I have been requesting that my application be moved to the Superior Court of Justice, and basically requesting and demanding public inquiry, because I elected both verbally and written. Basically I made emails to the virtual Crown Prosecutor office that basically I wish to raise and have my case heard before a public trial with a jury, which basically follows common law. Now, and that's not my argument. My argument is not that. My argument is basically it's natural law, backed up by the facts and the evidence before your eyes, for an alleged offense that took place on the 24th of August 2024, which resulted in my unlawful detainment from the 25th of August 2024. I was sworn in till the 29th of August 2024, whereby my mother was basically acting as my surety, and I was released. And meanwhile, I had been fighting for self-representation and being released within 24 hours of my unlawful detainment, but now I am being held in detention center on Ennis Road, Ottawa. Right, so basically the Crown Prosecutor in Ottawa had received direction from a Crown Prosecutor in Quebec, a different jurisdiction, to basically keep the accused, innocent man, did nothing wrong, and incarcerated for the 30 days for justice. It can be resumed and applied. Meanwhile, you are in the slammer, and they treat you like worse than dogs, and you got to basically go through inhumane treatment, what have you. That's a separate video. So essentially I was released on the 29th, and basically the plan backfired, that they were unable to keep me detained unlawfully, that is. And then when I went to my court appearance on the 10th of September 2024, remember, they had received direction from the Crown Prosecutor, from Gatineau, basically Quebec, right, to keep me incarcerated, even though I have no conviction, zero criminal record. And I'm a solopreneur, entrepreneur, engineer. I work for myself, and What is it to you? Suddenly, you have to now play your dirty game and go beat around the bushes between perhaps name uh, uh, misspelling or a typo or what have you. It doesn't matter. I mean, you should know better how to uphold the rule of the law, right? I mean, it's acting in good faith first, and then you apply the rule of the law two-way. So under the Constitution of Canada and, Part 1, the Charter of Rights and Freedom, you don't need to go and hire a constitutional lawyer to charge you, at least quote you $25,000 and a $15,000 retainer before they can take your file and move it to the Superior Court of Justice. I mean, it's the same building. It's not, you're sending an email, so it's getting to the same building over the same network at the end of the day, so what's the problem? And now we need instruction from the accused, right? So, therefore, it appears that we have a really skewed and biased, judiciary system that caters to those who have the yachts and, the means, right, to pay for basic legal advice. It's not rocketry, the supreme law of the land basically is the Constitution of Canada, and it 1982, which is nothing but a bylaw under trust law. Now that is also an amendment and a child law of basically what the parent law, the British North American Act in 1967. That's where basically you have the Dominion of Canada was first established as basically with the Upper Canada, Lower Canada, right? Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. If you are studying English, hopefully, or come to this great, beautiful land and you want to contribute and perhaps seek higher education, because you're not going to make it on a $20 minimum wage, and AI is here, and 80% of the jobs are going to be decimated, right? The rubber stamping is no longer required. That's why you have all these court in motion happening before your eyes, video. It's all video, right? There's nothing in person unless you make the request, and if you don't know your rights and you're not being told your rights, and they're acting in bad faith, trying to piggyback on your presumption of ignorance of the law, where they are acting in bad faith. I'm not ignorant of the law. I can apply myself and understand exactly the hierarchy of the laws and order. We live in Canada, so I assert my constitutional right, and I affirm that the Constitution of Canada is the supreme law of the land. Any laws that are that is basically child laws, whether it's a municipal or provincial level, that are in contradiction and in violation of my fundamental, unalienable natural rights and freedom, to the effect of being null and void, of no force. So I don't consent. So I am well within the rule of the law to doing what I'm doing. If you are so concerned about me exposing you and spreading my message over YouTube and the World Wide Web, right? Because at the end of the day nowadays, you have to be, a good citizen, law-abiding citizen, a civilian, like a dweller, city dweller. So long you have, a hamster wheel job, if you will. Nothing wrong with that, but the minute you are missing your mortgage payment, well, 3 months in power of sales. I don't have that problem. I have home equity line of credit. But again, as I mentioned, my court case is not just it's criminal. It's also civil. You see, like after they rob your daylight and your life, and defame you and targeted, it's like a targeted individual program, right? It's like you're welcome, so this is why I speak the way I speak. It's because I'm an engineer. At the end of the day, I look at a problem, I debug and I reflect and I see this is no different than looking at a circuit board. I have the credential. I'm a subject matter expert, and again, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand basic law, right? So trust and contract law. So now there's a breach of trust with that of the federal government of Canada, and the subject of the accused, AJ, right, as A.K. Ahmed Jr., also known as Ahmed Jr. So basically, I don't need to justify it for you and the masses how I truly feel about my 25 years plus here in Canada. I'm grateful for all the opportunities, but I did not just land on my jobs without first seeking and attaining and getting all these basically experiences that I treated as life opportunities. If it wasn't for me navigating life a certain way and taking conscious choices and decisions, I would not be where I am today in life. And alhamdulillah, nothing to complain about. Because in my books, a man is his word. Wealth is health. It doesn't matter how much money you got in your bank account. Not even to question about the original source and the money laundering that had to have gone through washing all these illicit profit marketing, multi-level marketing Ponzi scheme that the government operates in all the industrial complex. Hence, there's no wonder why I believe that I'm a targeted individual, because, well, we are now in an energy crisis in Canada and Western Hemisphere, so-called, with net zero and the Green Energy Act in Canada, at least since 2018-19 they introduced the carbon tax. 2021 it became an act, and before you know it, now it's a clean fuel regulation, CFR. Hallelujah. So at times where we should collectively, as humanity, come together and settle our indifferences. But to settle the indifferences, you need to first come to reconciliation, right? To reconcile, you need to come to the truth. Before the truth, there's no reconciliation. So now we have again, a lot of positive things happening despite all this, genocide happening worldwide. It's a good step. As a Palestinian indigenous-born refugee, this is great news when I see Canada, right? I grew up here, right? So this is my hometown in Ottawa. I grew up here. I contributed to, the community, to society, to the industry. I have over 15 years plus experience. I had graduated with aerospace electronics system design engineering. Right here at Copland University, class 2009, and I jumped started my career. Again, some of the stuff you may have heard before, perhaps. It's not to be redundant, but I don't expect you to watch every single video. So a snippet here and there sometimes, it gives you a glimpse of what's happening, and hopefully and perhaps, intrigue you and raise your curiosity to learn more, because at the end of the day, you have a Canadian citizen, a law-abiding Canadian citizen, who has been to this land, basically landed as a permanent resident, right? So landed immigrant, we were called landed immigrant, fresh out of the boat, but this time fresh off the airplane, right? And a process that took basically 2 years prior to getting the green light and clearing the visa requirements. So we had come as in the family, my father, my mother, and my sister. I was a minor, so was my sister. We came here, and pursuit of life and happiness. So I did not speak a word English, and I applied myself into English as a second language. High school right here at Ridgemont High School, and then graduating with honors, pursuing higher education in the field of aerospace electronics, system design, engineering, with cooperative experience. So again, alhamdulillah, I have amassed a wealth of knowledge and experience, backed up by, prestigious track record. My record speaks for itself. Not now. The government wants to tarnish and defame an entrepreneur, engineer, someone who can explain to you the whole bullshit about their so-called, scientific advancement, right? Trust the science and green energy nonsense. So as an entrepreneur, well, I had left the corporate world in 2021, and I basically wanted to go into the energy market simply because of my background as an engineer, and I figured, well, solar would have been a good technical and physical, because at the time I was 210 pounds. I have pictures. QR963 solo. Right? You search that up and it'll take you to my landing page. So yes, I have lost pretty much everything. The last 2 years has been very, for lack of better, or, like, you cannot really describe. I mean, the just the agony, right? The suffering, and your every day for you is a battle when you are, away from your loved ones. Your your sole child daughter, your family, is worried about you. A strained relationship only because of, perhaps a misunderstanding, which again, blissful ignorance can be pardoned. But now, willful ignorance, and for you to go and, piggyback and kind of prop up the corrupt and basically. There's no other word. They're just corrupt, man. Like, they're corrupt and evil. Like, what else can you say? I mean, this is a judiciary system that is supposed to be entrusted, right? There's supposed to be an equal side trust, hence the triangle, right? So this is a judiciary system. The judge, justice of the peace, and then you have basically the administrative side, and you have the crown prosecutor, and you are on the opposite direction, be either the accused or the defendant. It depends on civil versus criminal. And then you go into summary conviction or mischief, or basically they call it basically it's mischief, right? Not a felony. The felony is like indictable offense here in Canada. So because there's a threshold, right? There's the monetary threshold for a criminal offense. Below it's summary conviction. Above it becomes indictable. So anything, the threshold is said to be around $5,000. So anyways, you don't need to be an engineer, aerospace, rocket engineer, so to speak, to understand basic life, and that you are in Canada. So far as I'm concerned, and the Constitution, you are essentially going to go about life and business, so to speak, as the law permits, as well as basically the promise that there is going to be the social contract, right? There's a social contract that the promise that your fundamental, unalienable natural rights and freedom are safeguarded and protected by the very laws of the land that we are all sharing. Because at the end of the day, the corporations are nothing but fictitious dead entities. It's just administrative. It's just machine. CEO goes, CEO comes. It doesn't matter. Just it's an entity for transacting, right? So buy and sell. Whereas you, a human being, hopefully, right, a natural person, perhaps, right, and then you have your own, so to speak, civic duties, if you will. If you're living in the city, anywhere on the land, you have the duty to understand the laws of the land, number one, and abide by those rules and laws, and also understand that you also have rights that cannot be trampled on by the ignorant, incompetent, inept law enforcement, because you have people being brought in by the boatload, also under the guise of work permit and foreign workers visa. So therefore, you have people with less than a year in service serving as a city cruiser, right, Uber driver. Meanwhile, the senior officer is the one that actually is authorized and only have enough experience, understanding of the law before he can cite you an offense. And this is why you have the junior, broski, so-called, right, driving the city cruiser, and it's a toy for him. He can push the button and pull somebody up. Yeah, it's fun, all nice and dandy, no problem. So there's a lot to talk. Like I said, there's only wealth of information. For those who know, they know. For those who do not know, well, you're due for a real good, sunlight. It's gonna be like solar rays, flares. Every day is a new day. So tomorrow you'll get it. Have a good night. Salam.